And hello again, everyone, and welcome into this week's edition of Panther Pride, our weekly look at Wellborn High School football. Mickey Shadrack's joined by Wellborn head coach Jeff Smith. The Panthers last Friday night on the road for the second week in a row, winning their region opener over Pleasant Valley by a final score of 42-7. Coach, congratulations on the win. And I know you've said it many times before, getting region wins, that's like finding gold. You've got to get everyone, take advantage of every opportunity you have, and you did that last Friday night.
Oh, very much. And I tell you something else too, I was proud of our kids, is we also played well after a big win the week before. And a lot of times when you have an emotional win like we did the first week against Sags, you have a hangover from it the next week. And I thought our kids really handled that well and went out there and got a good win over a much improved Pleasant Valley football team.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. You said on last week's show that this was one of the best Pleasant Valley teams you've seen in a while. Talk about, they were off to a 2-0 start. Yes. Talk about how they played against you on Friday night.
Oh, I thought they played extremely well. I think the first year that we came back to Wellborn, Pleasant Valley had a really good team that year, I thought. And we fought, and that was our first win we've had. But since then, they've had some teams that haven't been very good. And this year, I think they really had a very competitive, get-after-it football team right there. And again, they're much improved, and they got some more wins down the road for them.
Well, you mentioned the big rival game against Sacs to open the season, and then having to turn around and play a region game. You hear coaches talk about from week 1 to week 2. What are your takeaways from game 1 to game 2?
Well, I mean, I thought we played good together in week 2, and I felt like that we got out there and we had Pleasant Valley had, we scored the first drive. They scored on a big play after that, and then we didn't panic. We just went on and played our game, and I was proud of them for that. So I thought their poise showed up real good. Again, I thought they were very team-oriented, very poised, and took care of business. That's what we got out from week 1 to week 2.
Injury-wise, everybody good?
Oh, yeah, we are. I mean, injury-wise, sure, you're going to get banged up. We play a physical game, and you're going to have bumps and bruises, and we have some of that right there. But, we've just got to work and press on through it.
All right, a lot of highlights to show you. We'll start with the first half. Coming up next as we continue right here on Panther Pride. All right, back on Panther Pride. Time to check out first half highlights. Panthers on the road at Pleasant Valley for their region opener.
Well, we had a good first play here. We ran a toss, and Pat Harris came out there and had a real good run and had good blocking in front of him. And 2 plays later, we did it again, and again had some good results from that play. Here you see us, we run just a power play right here, and that was the first touchdown, and that was Javion Thomas who got it in and had some good blocking with our offensive line.
He had a big night, 3 touchdowns,
He
Coach.
sure did, and the offensive line had to open up some very good holes for him, too. Here, they came out there and they ran, faked the double handoff and run the keep. One of the plays that we run right there, and we sucked in right there, and he got outside and, and tied the game up. Well, after that, we went back to work, and when we was able to get the ball out here to Montgomery, and, you get Montgomery in open space, you're going to get positive things coming out. If you see right here, we ran just a trap play, and Kid Harris busted up the middle right there, and we regained the lead. Got back on defense, started playing well. You see that Jamire Curry's got to hold on and make that tackle there, but you see here comes Pat Harris. He came up from this corner right there and made a good tackle. Again, was able to get it out there on the edge right there with Montgomery, and when you get him in open space, he's tough. Boy, I tell you. Here we're coming in here running him on an inside handoff play here, and he gets some good yardage on it. Right here we come up here, we run our power play again right there, and Javion Thomas he gets his second touchdown of the night. And again, very good blocking right there with Jamire Curry and Zach Chandler and all those guys right there blocking well. They make a good little run right here again. Montgomery makes a good tackle in open field. He had 15 tackles for the game. Here you can see our defense here stiffening up right there, and they look like they hit a brick wall here, and they try to come outside here, and Charles Taylor comes up from his corner, made a good tackle for us. He's been a very pleasant surprise. Here, the quarterback, he's scrambling around right there, and we got guys running to the football. Joseph Harris being one of them right there, and made a good tackle. Austin right here, we try to hit a little screen pass right here, and Montgomery catches it and goes across the field with it. Boy, he's really moving. You know, that play was about 40 yards, but he probably ran 70 yards on the play by reversing field like he did. And again, we came back with our power play, and Javion got it in, and we're going to have to work on him knowing he got in the end zone. That's not the first time he's gotten in the end zone. He needs to act like that. Here we have a good run here, and you know, guys getting to the ball here, making a good tackle. They heave the ball up right here. Montgomery makes a good interception here before the half. He's carrying it down the near sideline here, trying to make something happen, and he got by one guy right here and gets tackled on the sideline over there for Pleasant Valley.
Oh, there you see the halftime score. Coach, you've got a 3-touchdown lead here at halftime, 28-7. You know, you talked about having a big rival game to start the year, a tough, hard-fought game that you had to win basically on the last possession against Sachs. Then you turn around and play a Pleasant Valley team that's they're a region game, but I don't know if it'd be called as big a rival as Sachs. And you're on the road, and they've had a good start to their season. What's the key to not letting down? What do you tell the kids at the beginning of the game to get them focused on that game and not the big win from the previous week?
Well, you know, I said last week what we wanted to do is get ourselves better. You know, after that Sachs win, we had to go back and work on fundamentals and get back to playing some fundamental football. And that's what we worked hard on, is trying to make ourselves better last week and working on our fundamentals. Hey, when we went over to Pleasant Valley, hey, my hat's off to them. They had a packed house. They had a loud student section. They were really amped up and excited, and the players were playing very enthusiastic. So they're really heading things in the right direction. You mentioned rival game. You know, Sachs and Wellborn, we're right beside each other. You know, Pleasant Valley, you know, our kids don't interact with many kids from Pleasant Valley. Very rarely do we even see any of them. So, you know, that's where the rivalries come in. A lot of times the rivalries are when you're right beside somebody, like back when it was Wellborn Aston and Wellborn Oxford, and, you know, now Wellborn Sachs. We're right beside them, and our kids interact with each other.
And of course, you coach a very physical style of football.
Yes.
That's a big thing you brought back to Wellborn, and that's what Wellborn traditionally is known for. And it seemed like as that first half rolled on, especially with the way your line was blocking, it seemed like you were starting to take over the game physically.
Well, you know, and we're proud with our offensive line. You know, they don't have tremendous size, but they have tremendous hearts, and they have really improved from spring training to now. And I tell you what, I don't think there's another group that's been worked as hard as our offensive and defensive lines from spring training to present day. We really want to work hard on them.
And another group that works very hard, and I know you really appreciate them, and that is the Wellborn High School Marching Band. And as we go to break, we'll listen in to the Wellborn Band from last Friday night. And welcome back to Panther Pride. Wellborn up 28-7, and Coach, you begin the second half kicking off to Pleasant Valley.
Yeah, we kicked off, and we had a penalty for the half, so we was back deep, kicking off, and they got to start the kick their first possession on their own 40. They came out with a good run here and got into our territory. That number 6 they had that played fullback. I mean, he's not big as a minute, but boy, you talk about running hard and being a competitor. Walker Hayes came up with a real good interception right here, and we had worked on that pass play during practice this week, and they threw it, and we was able to pick it off. Here, we was able to run our double handoff here, and Thomas had a good run, but again, very good blocking and a good hole to run through. Run our toss again out here with Pat, and boy, I tell you, Pat does a good job right here of running that thing out. Again, was able to get Montgomery out here in space again right there, and I can't say enough about that right there. When you get him in space, boy, good things are going to happen. We came up here and ran our power play to the other side, and Pat Harris took it in. 35-7, you know, right there with about a minute to go in the fourth quarter, and there's that number 6 again that they had running hard. I mean, again, he's small, but boy, I tell you what, he had tremendous heart and effort here. Here they threw a pass out there, and Charles came up and made a good tackle. Here they're heaving it down the field here, and Charles again, they're testing him, and he was able to knock it down. Again, Charles Taylor's been a pleasant surprise for us, and he's playing that left corner for us and really done well. We got the ball back, and it was a one-play drive. We ran a dive, and Kid Harris broke it out of there and off to the races he went. But again, the credit is just not to the running back. The offensive line had just a real good, executed real well, had some good blocking. Now we're getting closer to the end of the game here. They're running the fullback a good bit here, and you know, we're coming up making tackles here, and the clock is winding down pretty good here. That was a good tackle there again by Jamarian Curry. You know, Jamarian got hurt last year when we played Glencoe's second ball game and played 6 games on a torn ACL before he just couldn't go no more. Here we got our second team in, and that was Otis Weatherly, had a good run right there, and Coach Nix is doing a good job over there at Pleasant Valley and should be real proud of how this program's coming along.
And the final score, Wellborn wins it 42-7 on the road, and to improve to 2-0 on the season, and more importantly, 1-0 in 3A Region 5 play. And Coach, you know, when you give up 7 points, you know your defense as a unit played well, especially on the road. And we mentioned Javian Thomas had the 3 touchdowns. Ked Harris rushed for over 100 yards. That tells you your offensive line is doing a good job. Austin McQueen didn't have to throw that much, but when he did, he completed most of them.
7
And Jordan Montgomery caught 6 of those. So the guys that you count on were there and delivered for you Friday night.
Oh, absolutely. And again, the offensive line is Ethan Beatles, Chandler Cup, Dalton Epps, Lance Hill, and Zach Chandler, and Dylan Grubbs plays tight end, and Jamarian Curry plays our other tight end. Those are the kind of the unsung heroes. They don't get a lot of credit, but they had a good night blocking and had some guys that really played well and graded well in this game.
Speaking of good individual play, it's time to take a look at our player awards from the Pleasant Valley game, and we'll put those on the screen for you now. And Coach, you can kind of walk us through this week's winners.
Our offensive line, best offensive line performance is our Scrambler Award. That was Chandler Cup. Our racehorse, we really couldn't pick one. We had Austin McQueen, Jordan Montgomery, Javion Thomas, and Pat Harris. All of them played well as far as the racehorse award. Pancake was Dalton Epps, and Zach Chandler had a good block out there on the perimeter. Big Hog is our defensive line performance. It went to Jamarian Curry. The 12th man is our special teams award. It went to Jordan Montgomery, and hardest hit went to Jordan Montgomery. He's done that 2 weeks in a row. Our meanest Panther goes to Jordan Montgomery. That's the best defensive back in the linebacker performance. Offensive player of the week was Chandler Cup. Just played a tremendous game at offensive guard for us, and our defensive player of the week was Jordan Montgomery.
And Coach, you mentioned you got a chance to put some of your second teamers in there toward the end of the game, and especially when you're not, you know, when you got a long season and you're hopefully going to be playing in that second season with the playoffs. Talk about how important it is when you get that opportunity to get some of those players in the game and get them some game experience.
Well, you know, Pleasant Valley did a good job of keeping us from being able to do that a whole lot. We were able to get them in for a series, and I think they got 4 or 5 plays. But any time that you can get in a game and you can play some of your younger players, you know, I think it's invaluable because there's no experience like Friday night experience. You know, we play B-team games on Monday night, but when they can go out there and play on Friday night under the lights with a big crowd, it just makes a big difference in them.
All right, we'll take a break and come back and look ahead to more region action this Friday night. Big game against Weaver on tap. We'll talk with Coach Smith about that and more when we continue right here on Panther Pride. And we're back on Panther Pride. Mickey Shadricks along with Coach Jeff Smith. And Coach, Pleasant Valley now kind of put that one on the shelf and look ahead to this week's matchup on Friday night against the Weaver Bearcats. It's another 3A Region 5 game. And Weaver was off last week, so they're 2-0 coming into this game. But first, before we even talk about Weaver, I just want to ask you about, I'm sure you're happy to be coming home to play your first game of the 2016 season.
Well, we played our fall jamboree on the road with Westbrook, so we've been on the road for 3 straight games. It'll be very nice to finally open up at home and be at home. I'm looking forward to it. I know our fans are looking forward to it too.
Everybody always talks about the Hill at Welborn. We've got some great home stadiums around the East Alabama area that have that tradition and that aura. You know, you talk about Alexandria, you talk about a place you used to coach out at the Creek Bank, but the Hill's got that reputation too. Talk about that, how important that having some type of home field advantage is for you.
Well, we talked to the players a lot about wearing your black jersey and playing on the Hill. So finally they're getting to open up the season and getting to be up there. You know, and our crowd is always there behind us, and we always have good crowds at home, and you know, it just generates a lot of excitement. To me, there's nothing like Friday night up there at Welborn. It's just, you know, the people love football. They're all going to come out, and it's a really exciting time.
All right, Coach, let's talk about the opponent this week, the Weaver Bearcats. You know, Weaver's hadn't really been a major factor. They've made the playoffs in the recent past, but they seemed like for some reason this year's team has been one that Coach Hamby's kind of been pointing to for a few years. And even though we've only seen 2 games, I'm sure you've seen enough on film already to know that they've got some players. They've got some very explosive type players, especially on offense. Talk about the challenge against Weaver this week.
Well, you know, they got tremendous speed, and they've got some good size, and they have 11 seniors. And all 11 seniors that they have start somewhere, whether it's offense or defense. And, you know, they're experienced kids. Some of those kids, you know, Paul Hubbard, some of those others, they've been starting since the 9th grade, so they've got a lot of experience under their belt. You know, and when you got older kids with experience, it creates a lot of problems.
The style that they play, is it similar to Sachs? And if so, does that game help you going into this game against Weaver?
Well, you know, they do run a style similar to Sachs, but I think it's even more wide open than what Sachs does. You know, Sachs is usually going to be a 2-back gun set. Weaver a lot of times is going to be in a 1-back gun set. You know, quarterback in the back there and spread the field, you know, from one sideline to the other. Where Sachs, it usually keeps 2 backs back there with a quarterback. So they do some things similar, but there again, I think Weaver's a little more wide open.
Last year, I remember you played them at Weaver. They came out in that first half and got after you pretty good in that first half. You were able to kind of pull away in the second half. As far as going into the game, X's and O's from your perspective, I'm sure you would like to be able to move the ball on the ground, kind of control the clock a little bit, keep the ball away from them.
Right. Well, you know, that's the plan, you know. But, you know, a lot of times they have the plan to stop all that. You know, look, they've got some experienced kids with some good size and good speed. And, you know, they're one of the, not just the top teams in our region, but going to be one of the top teams in the state. And, you know, going against them is going to create a lot of challenges. But, you know, hey, we got good kids, and they're up for the challenge, and we're going to have a good week this week, and they're going to come out there to the Hill, and we're going to play the game and see how it turns out.
Defensively, I'm sure it's important for your guys to be disciplined with assignments,
Absolutely.
not to overrun plays with the type of
Absolutely.
playmakers they have on offense.
Well, you just got it's stance, alignment, and technique. You know, you just got to get in a good stance, get lined up right, and perform the technique. And then when you get there, let's all make a tackle. Let's not miss tackles. That's the big thing is with their speed and how good they are. Is just when you get there, tackle them. You know, it don't have to be the killer shot, but just get them tackled, get them on the ground, and let's play another play. And I think that's the thing that's most important when you play a team that's got that much speed.
And a lot of people forget to talk about this aspect of the game, special teams. They've got guys that can hurt you in that area, and a game can turn for you or turn against you in a hurry in that area. Talk about special teams.
Every big game is one. Every big close game comes down to a special teams play. You look at all games, I'm talking about college, pro, high school. If it's a big game where 2 teams are evenly matched, it's a special teams play that makes a difference.
Coach, before we wrap up this week, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about some very important people who make this show possible. You know, you've got a lot of fan support at Welborn, of course, and you've also got some financial support because we couldn't do it. We couldn't have this show without it. Talk about our sponsors that make Panther Pride possible.
Well, you know, we have our benefit fund and our booster club. Both of them they do an outstanding job getting out there raising money for our program. And both of them are sponsors of our show. You know, Danny Drugs and Food Outlet have been good sponsors through the years. You know, Blue Mountain Pallet is coming through and helping us out a good bit. You know, the Center of Hope has been a great supporter. Gary Burns and them, anytime we need anything, we call over there. They try to help us. You know, and for me to keep on naming people, I'm gonna leave somebody out, I'm sure. But we've got tremendous support, and our fans are very loyal to Wellborn. I mean, when we take the kids somewhere or we go to a camp or something like that, if there's somebody from Wellborn there, they always come up and find us and says, hey, I went to Wellborn. Well, it sure is good to see the kids here. And, I mean, even at the UCP Telethon, when we walk in, just about all our former alumni always come up and say something to the kids and pat them on the back and everything. You know, the team, whether you're a band member or on the team or a cheerleader, you know, the people of Wellborn really take a lot of pride in those kids that get out there on the field, and they try to help them as much as they can.
All right, thanks, Coach, for joining us this week. Good luck on Friday night against Weaver.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again next week right here on Panther Pride.